vision, or have another print disability which makes reading, holding a book, or turning a page difficult or impossible. The content is copyrighted by the respective publishers. For more information, please visit us on the web at nfradioreading.org.
Hello, this is Pat Connolly, and for the next hour I'll be reading from current issues of the Dunkirk Observer on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. Let's start out with the death notices. I'm going to read only the names and the dates when given. You'll hear probably quite a lot of rustling of newspaper as I go from one of these 5 issues to the next. If you want to hear the remainder of the death notice, then you should call 716-821-5555, which is the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service, and a staff member will read the rest of the obit to you. So first of all, Nancy A. Winkler, April 8th, 1943 to July 31st, 2021. I'm sorry about the rustling of newspapers, but I have 5 issues here. Then Francis L. Zolnoski, Zolnoske, 1942 to 2026, and Carolee Fishwick Benzoni, also known as Carrie Fishwick Benzoni, 1959 to 2026. Oh, there's more on an inside page. Oh, yes, indeed. Arlene E. Miller, 1932 to 2026. Gloria E. Schmansky, 1929 to 2025. And Donald Earl Fowler, 1947 to 2026. Going on to the next issue. Errol, spelled E-R-R-O-L, Errol Douglas Swanson, 1943 to 2026. Vanessa B. Volk, whose maiden name apparently was Bert, 1952 to 2026. Suzanne Sue M. Talley, T-A-L-L-E-Y, 1966 to 2026. Okay, and finally, Sandra L. Manos, M-A-N-O-S, July 25th, 1945 to July 18th, 2026. Vanessa B. Volk, born maiden name Burt, B-U-R-T. And finally, Michael W. Dalrymple, 1954 to 2026. Again, I apologize for all of this newspaper rustling, but those are death notices from 5 issues of the Dunkirk Observer. The newspapers in question are the Dunkirk Fredonia Observer from Wednesday, July 29th through Monday, August 3rd. Many articles are very long and will be abbreviated. If you wish to hear the continuation of articles that I abbreviate, please do call Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service, 716-821-5555. Starting with the Wednesday, July 29th issue of The Observer, Village Vendor Dispute Bubbles Up Again by M.J. Stafford. Fredonia's long-running dispute about vendors was on display again this week at a Board of Trustees workshop. Representatives of 3 community organizations and village officials emitted more rhetoric about a years-long tiff that seems to be centered around allegedly confusing Fredonia laws. A fairly new village law governing vendors has further clouded the issue. The dust-up between the government and the festival organizers of Fredonia has many side issues, however. The only thing that really came out of the discussion, which gobbled up 75 minutes of a 3-hour workshop, was a loose agreement to talk more. Mayor Michael Ferguson offered to start a committee of festival organization leaders and village officials. The community organizers, Lauren Boyle of the Farm Festival, Annalise Bruegel of Fredonia's Farmers Market, and Larry Fiorella of Festivals Fredonia, appeared open to that. Quoting, "There's been questions from all three organizations," said Ferguson to open the discussion. That's Mayor Ferguson. He spoke of a lot of confusion, not only on everybody's part, including ours to a certain extent, but the law has been pretty clear over the course of a number of years, end quote. Ferguson read the entire vendor's law of the village, which took 15 minutes. Police Chief Gregory Myers read a law governing Barker Common, which notes that no alcohol is supposed to be served without prior village approval. Civic events also, quoting, "can't become a disturbance. It can't turn into something that people are calling us on and complaining," Myers said. Ferguson commented, "There is a misconception that once the board has approved the event, it has also approved the vendors. The vendors are the organizers' responsibility," he held. And I'll cut that one there. From Brockton, Brockton benefits from Feedmore Library Partnership by Braden Carman. Several months ago, Ahira Hall, not sure about the pronunciation, A-H-I-R-A, Ahira Hall Memorial Library Director Julie Morrison Putcher formed a partnership with Feedmore Western New York to bring a food truck carrying affordable local produce available for purchase at Rickman Park. The results have been very favorable. "So far, everything has been going fantastic," Putcher said. Putcher noted that roughly 30 to 40 area residents have purchased food from the Feedmore truck each time it came by. The truck visits twice a month and accepts cash and credit debit cards as well as EBT and SNAP benefits up to 50% off. All food available is certified and locally grown and all priced at $5 or less. Upcoming Feedmore Western New York food truck visits to Rickman Park are August 14th, August 28th, September 11th, and September 25th. The library is also proud to serve meals each day to children in the community throughout the summer. The library also organizes the Music in the Park summer concert series each year at Rickman Park. July closes out with Swamp Yankees duo on Thursday at 6:30 p.m., so that's now gone, supported in memory of Sharon Morrison, a lifelong musician. On August 6th, also gone, Bill Piper and company will perform at 6:30 p.m., sponsored by Peter D. Clark, attorney at law. Okay, but coming up, on August 13th, Check 1, 2, 3 will perform at 6:30 p.m. at the Rickman Library. 6:30 p.m., sponsored by the Krauth family. A rain date of August 20th is available if necessary. The concerts are supported by the town of Portland and the village of Brockton, and all proceeds from the concerts benefit the library, cutting this article there. From page A5, the local page of the Observer, of the July 29th Observer, Wednesday, July 29th, Dunkirk Senior Center announces program schedule. The Dunkirk Senior Center has planned a number of activities for the next 3 months. On Sunday, seniors will travel to the Erie Station Dinner Theater for Chicago Speakeasy. The all-inclusive price is $99. Beginning Tuesday, Tuesday probably was August 3rd, so that's past. Beginning Tuesday, the Office for the Aging will present nutrition classes on Tuesdays from 10 to 11 a.m. for 4 weeks. To register for the nutrition classes, which are indeed coming up, call NY Connects at 716-753-4582 or email, well, this is a little confusing, but here is the email address. Email ccnyc at chqgov.com by Friday, probably the 7th of August. There's line dancing every Tuesday from 10 to 11 a.m. A phone and tablet class is planned for August 19th at 10 a.m. I guess how to use your smartphone and tablet. Bunko game night is set for August 24th from 6 to 8 p.m. On August 27th, a Victorian Princess luncheon cruise features the options of the casino or the Mill Creek Mall for $99. Sounds like a bus trip. On September 16th, an outing to the Corning Museum of Glass will cost $150, which includes lunch. On September 30th, an all-inclusive trip to the Frankie Valley Tribute Oh What a Night at Batavia will cost $139. On October 10th, at Christmas in the Shaker Woods, Columbiana, Ohio, that trip is available for $99, October 10th. On October 12th, join the Grove City Outlet Mall Get a Jump on It Christmas shopping trip. Store prices are 75 to 90% off. $99 includes lunch. Travel to Lancaster, Pennsylvania from October 21st through 23rd for the Sight and Sound Theater featuring Joshua. Included are premiere tickets, deluxe motor coach, meals, gratuities, luggage handling, and so much more for $569 double accommodations through White Star Tours. With questions, call the center or Robin at 716-366-7530. That's the office number again, 716-366-7530 or 716-230-4081. Again, that's 716-230-4081 for the many plans of the Dunkirk Senior Center. A local crime article, Charges Against City Man Fourth in 2 Years by John Whitaker. Charges announced Monday against a Jamestown man charged in the May 3rd stabbing death of Tori Kenny are the latest in a list of criminal charges in recent years. A secret indictment issued by the Chautauqua County Grand Jury was unsealed in Chautauqua County Court, charging 27-year-old Robert Brinkley with second-degree murder, first-degree manslaughter, and third-degree criminal possession of a weapon in the May 3rd death of Jamestown resident Tori Kenny, 32 years old. Chautauqua County District Attorney Jason Schmidt called the incident a brutal and predatory attack committed without justification. Continuing that quotation, Kenny was unarmed and fearing for his life when he was stabbed through the eye and collapsed on the street during the early morning hours of May 3rd. Within minutes of the call, Jamestown police began their investigation with very little evidence and information from the crime scene and devoted countless hours from then on developing the case until we were confident that it was ready for prosecution, Schmidt said in a news release. Brinkley pleaded not guilty to the charges, and a conference has been scheduled for August 17th. County Court Judge David Foley set bail at $1 million cash, or in the alternative, $2 million to be secured by property bond or the posting of 10%. If convicted of the charges, Brinkley faces a prison sentence of between 25 years and life. And I'll cut that one there. Moving on now from the July 29th Observer to the Thursday, July 30th issue of the Dunkirk Fredonia Observer. And you are listening to a reading of articles and features from the Dunkirk Observer on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. I'm cutting many articles because they are very long, so please feel free to call Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service if you wish to have the remainders of any articles read to you. The number here is 716-821-5555. So from the front page of the July 30th Observer, Pomfret gets more funds for merger study by Gregory Bacon. The town of Pomfret is getting additional funds from the county for a study to investigate options for shared services and mergers. During the recent Chautauqua County Legislature meeting, lawmakers approved a resolution to award Pomfret $25,000 from the county's Government Reduction Initiative. The money is not part of the county's budget, but rather will be coming from its reserve accounts. In September, County Executive P.J. Wendell announced that he wanted $500,000 from the county reserves to create a government efficiency fund that would support local municipalities in mergers, consolidations, dissolution, shared services, and other similar opportunities to reduce government. Quoting, "The goal is to reduce redundancies, streamline operation, and eliminate duplicate efforts, ultimately leading to significant cost savings," end quote, he said at the time. And I'll cut that one right there. Are you interested in fishing? Still page 1 of July 30th Observer, Reel Lake Dilemmas. And reel, they have spelled R-E-E-L, as in a fishing reel. A sub-headline, A Great Walleye Fishery Faces Questions on Future, by Forrest Fisher. The numbers from this year's Sunset Bay Walleye Shootout in Hanover tell two stories about Lake Erie. One celebrates perhaps the greatest naturally sustained walleye fishery in North America. The other raises a question that fisheries managers and anglers alike will be watching closely in the years ahead. A total of 147 teams competed in the annual tournament, being the Sunset Bay Walleye Shootout in Hanover. A total of 147 teams competed in the annual tournament, chasing the heaviest 6-fish box while also taking aim at the largest individual walleye. Oh, I see. The heaviest 6-fish box. Well, that's one thing. The other thing is the largest individual walleye. Tournament rules required every fish in a team's 6-fish box to measure at least 24 inches, well above New York's 15-inch minimum legal size for keeping walleye on Lake Erie. That single rule, a new rule for 2026, eliminated more than half the field at the final weigh-in, probably disappointing many teams. With an estimated 85 million walleyes swimming in Lake Erie, most concentrated in the eastern basin right now, finding 6 fish over 24 inches is no simple task. Trolling is the only legal tournament method, meaning success depends on preparation, teamwork, and the ability to solve a constantly changing puzzle of water temperature, bait fish, currents, and fish movement. The anglers who consistently rise to the top are the ones who never stop adapting. Chuck Pullman and the Catch the Best Charters team provided a perfect example. Fishing alongside teammates Tom Kinmartin and Tim Duffy, countless hours of scouting paid dividends on tournament day. Their spread covered nearly every level of the water column, running lead core lines, I guess. Lead core lines? Probably lead core lines. I don't fish. From 3 to 8 colors, some enhanced with snap weights, along with dipsy divers and a downrigger pulling a mix of stick baits and spoons. I'm skipping some of the middle of the article about the contest and going on to the questions raised about the future of fishing in Lake Erie. Still in the same article, however. Can Lake Erie's incredible abundance continue if the forage base, dominated largely by emerald shiners and young baitfish, can't keep pace with so many hungry predators? Or are today's smaller average tournament fish simply the result of an unusually crowded population waiting for the next generation of giant fish, to emerge? No one knows the answer yet, and fisheries biologists continue to monitor both predator and prey populations closely. For now, Lake Erie remains one of the world's premier walleye destinations, capable of producing remarkable catches and unforgettable tournaments. Well, I will cut that one there with the article's final sentence, which is, "Gotta love the outdoors." Still from the front page of the Thursday, July 30th Observer, Brockton. Brockton approves charging property owners for unpaid electric. The village board held a public hearing at its latest regular meeting to discuss a local law to hold property owners responsible for unpaid electric bills. Nearly every seat in the village hall was filled, and more than 10 minutes of discussion was held before the local law was eventually approved. The village sought a solution to a persistent problem in which residents would rack up a high balance of unpaid electric bills, then move away. In those instances, the village was responsible for their balance. Quoting, "As a village, we can't keep eating this cost," Mayor Craig Miller said. Electricity can be shut off after unpaid bills spanning 3 billing cycles, excluding the winter. The village receives an electricity allotment from the New York Power Authority. Under the proposed local law, any unpaid electric bills would fall on the property owner rather than the entire village in the form of a lien against the property. Homeowners that are renting properties in the village would be even more responsible for the tenants they rent to. Quoting, "It's up to the landowner to take more responsibility to make sure that the bills are paid." And skipping through the middle of the article to the final sentence, the next Brockton Village Board meeting will be held on Wednesday, August 19th at 6 p.m. From page 2, a missing person report. Police seek assistance in locating missing city man. Dunkirk police are currently investigating a report of a missing person. In a news release issued Wednesday, the officers said Owen A. Taylor, Taylor, 89, was last seen Saturday near his home on the 500 block of Dove Street, in the city of Dunkirk. He is 5'10" and weighs about 110 pounds, with white hair and brown eyes. Anyone with information is encouraged to call Dunkirk Police at 716-366-2266. From page A7 of the July 30th Observer, Belanti Manor breaks ground on next-gen homes in Gowanda. And this article is from Gowanda. Belanti Manor, LLC, Limited Liability Company, has officially broken ground on a premium development of next-generation custom-built modular homes located in the exclusive Flavia Circle community in Gowanda. To celebrate its milestone, the public is invited to a grand opening and open house event at Flavia Circle on Friday from 4:30 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. That date has passed. Belanti Manor's modern residential project offers buyers a unique opportunity to design bespoke, high-efficiency homes tailored to modern living standards with turnkey home packages starting around $365,000. To bring this vision to market, Belanti Manor LLC has partnered exclusively with Danahy Real Estate, a brokerage renowned for its collaborative and client-first approach to property sales. Well, this sounds like an advertisement, and I'll cut it there. Moving on to the Friday, July 31st, Dunkirk Observer front page. Continuing fishing from yesterday's, that is from the July 30th paper. Waves of Prosperity. Partnerships highlight world-class Lake Erie fishery by Forrest Fisher. The Lake Erie shoreline of western New York has quietly become one of the region's greatest economic and recreational success stories. Thanks to decades of conservation efforts that have restored water quality and strengthened fish populations, Lake Erie now boasts one of North America's premier freshwater fisheries. Anglers from across the country travel here in pursuit of trophy walleye, smallmouth bass, yellow perch, lake trout, and steelhead, creating an economic ripple effect that benefits local businesses, tourism, marinas, charter captains, restaurants, lodging facilities, and waterfront communities. That success was on full display during a special Lake Erie VIP experience event hosted Wednesday at the Clarion Hotel Pavilion in Dunkirk. Guests of the Eastern Lake Erie Charter Boat Association, Chautauqua County, let's start over again. It's a list of participants. Guests of the Eastern Lake Erie Charter Boat Association, Chautauqua County Visitors Bureau, Visit Buffalo Niagara, and Erie County Department of Environment and Planning were invited to experience the fishery firsthand with a half-day walleye charter aboard boats operated by the Eastern Basin Lake Erie Charter Association, followed by a catered luncheon focused on the future of Lake Erie. And I will abbreviate that one there, still on the front page of the July 31st issue. Fredonia to ditch meters, offer 2-hour parking plan. So I guess they're getting rid of their parking meters. Fredonia Mayor Michael Ferguson and the village board have put the brakes on a downtown parking plan that has been met with criticism. In a news release issued Thursday, Ferguson noted the village planned to enter into a contract with Honk Parking Solutions, Honk as in H-O-N-K, exclamation point. Enter into a contract with Honk Parking Solutions that would have replaced the village's outdated and often broken meters with QR code technology. This would have required both residents and visitors to use their cell phones for parking transactions or purchase an annual permit, which would allow residents to park anywhere in the village for 2 hours. The proposal was met with mixed reactions. Most reactions were negative towards the idea. Ferguson has now proposed a new set of parking laws and regulations for the community. Quoting, "I pride myself on being an advocate and supporter of shopping, dining, and conducting business in our village," he said. "I know I have spoken about the increase in business on the Route 60 corridor and the impact it is having on downtown businesses. Many are choosing not to make that turn from Route 60 to Route 20. After listening to residents, family, and visitors to the area, Ferguson reached out to trustee Leanne Lazzarini with the idea to remove the meters and replace them with 2-hour parking signs. Quoting, "The idea is to encourage residents, visitors, and students to come downtown, not to make it more difficult for them to enjoy our community," Ferguson said. Both the mayor and Lazzarini sat down with Police Chief Greg Myers as well as Fire Chief Joshua Myers, both members of the village's emergency management team, and they were in agreement. The idea was manageable. Abbreviating that article there. You're listening to a reading of articles and features from the Dunkirk Observer on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. As I've said several times, I abbreviate many of the articles, which are very long, and so I invite you to call 716-821-5555 if you wish to hear the rest of the abbreviated article. From page A5? It's not legible. Oh yes, it is page A5, the local and region page of the Observer of July 31st. Jury convicts Matar of terrorist act in attack on Rushdie. A federal jury has convicted Hadi Matar, 28 years old, of Fairview, New Jersey, of attempting to provide material support to Hezbollah, a designated foreign terrorist organization, engaging in an act of terrorism transcending national boundaries, and providing material support to terrorists. Hadi Matar, who was born and raised in the United States, chose to align his values with the terroristic values of the leaders of Iran, which often promote violence, and in this case, the call for murder, end quote, said U.S. Attorney Michael DiGiacomo for the Western District of New York. Continuing DiGiacomo's statement, the defendant spent months planning and preparing to carry out what he hoped would be the execution of Salman Rushdie and possibly follow in the footsteps of martyrs he admired. Instead, his attempted act of terror failed, and Salman Rushdie survived thanks to courageous members of the public and law enforcement who saved Rushdie and captured Matar. Matar spent more than a year immersing himself in Hezbollah's violent ideology and preparing to act on a fatwa issued by Iran's Ayatollahs calling for Mr. Rushdie's murder, said Assistant Attorney General for National Security John A. Eisenberg. Continuing that quotation, his brutal attack on Mr. Rushdie during a peaceful speaking event is a chilling reminder of the global reach of Iranian terrorism. With today's verdict, justice has been done and Matar will pay for his crimes. End quote. Let's skip through the article in case you've forgotten what happened at the Chautauqua Institution. Here's something from inside the article to explain. On August 12, 2022, Matar attempted to murder author Salman Rushdie in an effort to carry out a fatwa calling for Rushdie's execution because of a novel published by Rushdie in 1988. That fatwa was issued in 1989 by the Supreme Leader of Iran, Ruhollah Khomeini, reaffirmed in 2017 by the Supreme Leader of Iran, Ali Khamenei, and endorsed in a 2006 speech by Hezbollah's Secretary General Hassan Nasrallah. I'll abbreviate the article there. It doesn't seem to mention what happened at the Chautauqua Institution. But as you no doubt remember, Matar traveled to the Chautauqua Institution, and when shortly after Salman Rushdie took the stage to speak, Matar rushed forward and attacked Rushdie with a knife. Okay, abbreviating that article there, I will say that you are listening to a reading of articles and features from the Dunkirk Observer on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. A small article, which I will still abbreviate, from page A7 of the July 31st issue of the Observer. Ripley Beach, stairs closed, need repairs, from Ripley. The Ripley Beach stairs will be closed until further notice, Town of Ripley board members learned at their meeting this month. Councilman Phil Chimera reported that the stairway had been closed and a no trespassing sign had been put in place due to a number of problems. He went on to explain that the stairs had experienced vandalism, and then a tree blew down in a windstorm and fell on the stairs. "We're not sure what we are going to do at this point," Chimera said. "We have to wait until we have everyone together to make a decision," etc. I'll abbreviate that article there. Moving on now to the Sunday Observer for Saturday and Sunday, August 1st and 2nd. Front page, if you're interested in restaurants. Taste of the Town. Dunkirk influencer highlights boosts area restaurants by Braden Carman. Word travels fast in a small town, and Michael Matos, which you might pronounce Matos, M-A-T-O-S, and Michael Matos found a way to use that to his advantage to benefit restaurants all throughout the region. When Matos moved back to Dunkirk roughly a decade ago, he noticed plenty of new restaurants in town. He initially thought it would be great to try the restaurants for himself, but not much came of it at first. Then earlier this year, Matos wanted to test out a new pair of video recording glasses he had bought at a yard sale. He decided to use them to record his experiences at local restaurants to post food reviews on Facebook. The response has turned into something he never could have imagined. Matos has turned his love for food and the community into a social media following. His Facebook page, Mikey Bada Bing Eats, has more than 6,000 followers and roughly 60 videos with at least 10,000 views. So again, that Facebook page is Mikey Bada Bing Eats. Mikey, M-I-K-E-Y, Bada Bing, B-A-D-A-B-I-N-G, and Eats, E-A-T-S. The Facebook page has more than 6,000 followers and roughly 60 videos with at least 10,000 views. Those numbers are even more impressive considering he has only been at this since March. Matos began with 3 local pizza places: Mary's Deli, P-Dubs, it's P*** Dubs, and Pizza Village. From there, Matos saw a demand for more reviews, so he kept trying new restaurants. More and more restaurants began reaching out to Matos, offering to welcome him for a review. The requests are still pouring in months later. Matos says his goal in filming the food reviews is to give local restaurants recognition, especially those that people may not already know about. The article is very long, so let's just mention the restaurants that Mikey has featured and tried. So again, local pizza places: Mary's Deli, P***Dubs or P***Dubs, and Pizza Village. And in South Dayton, the South Dayton Supermarket for its donuts. Also, possibly in South Dayton, I am not sure, Mary's Deli, Dupers, and the Brat's Kitchen at Vibe on 5. Also, he has reviewed the following: in Forestville, the Nook at number 2 Main. For lunch restaurants, Angry Squirrel in Fredonia for hand-breaded chicken strips. Also, Coughlin's Pub and Dupers, I guess in Fredonia. And Dupers for smash burgers, also macaroni and cheese. And, the Sherman Hotel for its special 4-pound burger. And in Westfield, the Railroad House for a traditional dinner meal. Possibly in Westfield, but it doesn't say, the Tap Room. And that's it. But to check out the reviews that Matos has done and to keep up to date with his upcoming reviews, follow Mikey Bada Bing Eats on Facebook, as well as Mikey Bada Bing Eats on Instagram and Mikey.badabing.ea on TikTok. Again, Mikey is Mikey and Bada Bing is Badabing. Still on the front page of the Sunday Observer for Saturday, Sunday, August 1st and 2nd, DeJoy downplays man's nuclear concerns by M.J. Stafford. Dunkirk's planning and development director recently brushed off a city resident's concerns about possible nuclear repowering of the former NRG plant. Paul Summerfield stated the concerns at an Economic Development Committee meeting this week. However, Vince DeJoy said that Dunkirk ought to be proud it is even getting considered for a nuclear project. Quoting, "The technology is not as good as their people want you to think," Summerfield said of the nuclear industry, citing safety issues. Continuing the quotation, "Dunkirk should not be a beta tester for this kind of technology." Summerfelt, who lives close to the X-Energy plant, speculated he might have to move if the site went nuclear. He stated, "Most nuclear plants have exclusion zones around them where no one can reside." Quoting, "Are we going to save money in the city budget by killing the city?" Summerfelt wondered. He declared that geothermal power would be a better fit for restarting the mothballed plant. DeJoy called into the meeting, and there was a few seconds of dead air after Summerfelt finished his comments. The planning and development director then flatly stated he didn't want to address Summerfelt's issues. Quoting, "We should be honored to even be considered," end of quote, in New York Governor Kathy Hochul's push to add nuclear-powered electricity to the state's grid, DeJoy said. Quoting, "It's a private developer that owns that site. They will decide what's on that site," DeJoy added. Genover purchased the site from Energy in early June. The Texas-based company specializes in redeveloping brownfield industrial properties and unused power generation infrastructure. And I'll abbreviate that one there. Further into the August 1st, August 2nd issue of the Observer, on page A5, police probing suspicious death of city man who was missing. The Dunkirk Police Department is investigating a suspicious death that occurred between the dates of July 22nd to 29 in or around the area of 515 Dove Street in Dunkirk. The deceased has been identified as Owen A. Taylor, 89, of Dunkirk. We read about him a few minutes ago, who was reported by the department as missing on Wednesday. The circumstances surrounding Taylor's death will be determined by the Erie County Medical Examiner's Office following the completion of an autopsy and any additional forensic testing. As part of the investigation, detectives identified, located, and interviewed a person of interest. At this time, no charges have been filed in relation to this case, and the investigation remains active. Detectives continue to gather evidence and conduct follow-up interviews as they work to determine the circumstances surrounding Taylor's death. I'll abbreviate that one there and go on to a narcotics article. 3 charged in Dunkirk narcotics investigation. 3 city residents have been charged in connection with a narcotics investigation. A search warrant was executed at 18 West Beach Road, Dunkirk, around 5 p.m. Thursday by officers from the Dunkirk Police Department and investigators from the Chautauqua County Sheriff's Office. Located inside the residence at the time of the search warrant was Alexis J. Matthews, 32, and Peter Gallardo, 45. As a result of the search, investigators seized 172.67 grams of methamphetamine, 6.58 grams of fentanyl, 34.8 grams of psilocybin mushrooms, scales and packaging material used for the sale and distribution of narcotics, and $535. Matthews was charged with second, third, and seventh degree criminal possession of a controlled substance and second degree criminally using drug paraphernalia. Gallardo was charged with seventh degree criminal possession of a controlled substance. Joshua A. Latona, 43, the owner of the residence, was charged with second-degree criminal nuisance. And I'll cut that one there. You're listening to a reading of articles and features from the Dunkirk Observer, Dunkirk Fredonia Observer on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. I abbreviate many of the articles because they are very long, and I invite you to call NFRRS, Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service, to hear the remainder of the articles. The phone number here is 716-821-5555, and staff will be happy to read the remainder of any article that you request. Moving now to the Monday, August 3rd, front page of the Dunkirk Fredonia Observer. Homelessness Falling in State, Not County, by John Whitaker. Homelessness is falling across the state through the end of 2025, but not in Chautauqua County. The rate of new homelessness is decreasing locally. The rate of new homelessness is decreasing locally. A recent analysis by Comptroller Thomas DiNapoli shows after the state's homeless population doubled between January 2022 and January 2024, homelessness in New York declined by 7.9% in January 2025 to 145,560. The decline of 12,459 homeless residents was the largest among states and was driven predominantly by New York City. Declines were not universal across the state. In 17 of 25 regions, declines were not universal across the state. In 17 of 25 regions known as Continuums of Care, COCS, homelessness grew. In 11 regions, it grew by more than 10%, with the highest increases in Columbia and Greene counties, Troy, Rensselaer County, and Schenectady. Homelessness increased 23.7% in the Jamestown, Dunkirk, Chautauqua County Continuum of Care, the fifth highest increase in the state, and a more than 9% higher increase than the Buffalo area. Quoting, "While the number of homeless declined, there's a lot of work left to do," DiNapoli said. "The problem is widespread and it is not confined to unique cities. It is not confined to major cities. In particular, the public, private, and nonprofit sectors need to work together to address the crisis of so many children experiencing homelessness in New York. Children are nearly 1/3 of the homeless population in the state. New York's children make up 31%. New York's children make up 31.7% of the homeless population, a rate that is more than double the rate of homeless children in the rest of the country. The rate is even higher in Chautauqua County, where 32.5% of homeless are children under the age of 18. That rate is the 5th highest in the state, behind Troy-Rensselaer County, which was 39.9%, Yonkers, Mount Vernon, Westchester County, 37.4%, Nassau, Suffolk counties, 32.9%, and Newburgh, Middletown, Orange County, 37.7%. Chautauqua Opportunities Incorporated 2026 Community Needs Assessment states youth homelessness continues to be a problem in Chautauqua County. Data from COI, Chautauqua Opportunities, Inc. Data from COI's youth programs indicate that youth become homeless primarily because they are asked to leave the home by a parent or caregiver, that's 51.2%, but substantial numbers are homeless because they cannot find a job, 24.7%, or they experienced physical abuse, 23.8%, or their caretaker engages in substance abuse, 22.6%. This data has remained consistent for the past several years. And I guess the reason that adds up to more than 100% is that various factors will combine with a single person. I'll cut this article here. Still on page 1 of the Monday, August 3rd Observer, Storage Barn tops projects list for city by M.J. Stafford. A new salt barn was the first thing Dunkirk's Planning and Development Director mentioned Tuesday when asked about projects his office is currently working on. Vince DeJoy couldn't physically attend the Economic Development Committee meeting, but called in with a report. Councilman Michael Civiletto, the committee chair, asked him to talk about projects that have seen some movement lately. DeJoy gave a similar report at Mayor Kate Wodowicz's department. I'm sorry, I do not know how to pronounce the name of the Dunkirk mayor, but it is spelled W-D-O-W-I-A-S-Z. So DeJoy gave a similar report at Mayor Kate Wodowicz's department head meeting the previous week, but neither Civiletto nor any other common council members attended that. DeJoy said he's working on a state funding application due Friday for a new road salt storage shed on Lucas Avenue. He said the current salt site is a dilapidated wooden structure that is close enough to Crooked Brook to cause contamination fears. Okay, let's abbreviate that article there. Still on the front page, heartwarming impact. Smile cookie sales raise over $10,000 for Boys and Girls Club by Braden Carman. When Gina and Dave Cron made the decision to dedicate the proceeds from Tim Hortons' annual Smile Cookie campaign to the Boys and Girls Club of Northern Chautauqua County, they never would have imagined the kind of support they would receive from the community. This year, the 4th annual campaign to benefit the club set a new record in sales. More than $10,000 was raised in 1 week of Smile Cookie sales earlier this year. The 6 locations owned and operated by Dave and Gina Cron in the city of Dunkirk, the town of Dunkirk, Fredonia, Cassadaga, Westfield, and Mayville raised $10,072.43 for the Boys and Girls Club of Northern Chautauqua County. It's heartwarming, said Gina Cron. We love supporting the Boys and Girls Club, and our guests really jump on board. And let's abbreviate that one there. Still from page 1 of the August 3rd issue of the Observer, Dunkirk looks to wrap up eminent domain proceedings by Braden Carman. Finally, some good news comes from an update regarding the Shorewood Water District in the town of Dunkirk. After a lengthy eminent domain process, the town is nearing a resolution that will allow the capital improvement waterline project to proceed. Town of Dunkirk attorney Jeff Passafaro revealed at the latest town board meeting that eminent domain counsel informed him that the petition was presented to the state Supreme Court. There were no issues and no one appeared in protest. The justice agreed with the petition and the order was signed and entered. We're on our way. This is very good news, Passafaro said. The town saw a court order for the acquisition of rights-of-way pertaining to private roads throughout the Shorewood Water District, which covers portions of Woodlands Drive, Edgewood Drive, Shorewood Drive East, Shorewood Drive West, Farm Lane Road, Linwood Drive, Lakewood Drive, Morewood Drive, and Wilbur Road. The Shorewood Water Project will serve 173 residential properties and 16 commercial properties by upgrading the existing water lines to address connection problems, water main breaks, and inadequate flow, as well as ensuring proper fire protection. The town has been attempting to upgrade the water lines in the Shorewood Water District since March 2022, but even after the town secured more than $1.3 million in grant funding through the New York State Environmental Facilities Corporation, the project failed to break ground because of issues in securing easements. I'll abbreviate that one there. From the United Way on page A5 of the August 3rd issue, volunteers needed for United Way's second annual Day of Caring. Registration is now open for United Way of Chautauqua County's second annual Day of Caring, a local day of service which brings together individuals, community groups, families, and businesses to complete volunteer projects at sites throughout the county. All projects are 2.5 hours long, with some options in the morning and others in the afternoon. Many of the project sites are family-friendly, and each project is designed to help the participating organizations advance their missions and expand their capacity for critical services. United Way of Chautauqua County's 2026 Day of Caring will be held Friday, August 21st, with volunteer registration ending Friday, August 14th. Last year, a total of 66 individuals provided nearly 300 volunteer hours, completing more than a dozen projects at 12 sites. This year, United Way of Chautauqua has coordinated with 13 agencies to offer projects at 15 sites, and more than 100 volunteers are needed. To view the individual projects and sites or to register as a volunteer, visit unitedwaychq.org or text Caring CHQ to 41444. Again, to view the individual projects and sites or to register as a volunteer, visit, here's the email address, here's the website address, unitedwaychq.org, O-R-G. Or you can text Caring CHQ to 41444. That's all the time there is this week. You've been listening to a reading of articles and features from current issues of the Dunkirk Observer. Many of these articles were abbreviated. You can hear the remainder by calling us at 716-821-5555. We read from the Dunkirk Observer every Saturday at noon. Your reader has been Pat Connolly. Thank you for listening.
Coming up next in the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service, we have a reading of our Northtown Bee papers, which includes Amherst, Clarence, Cheektowaga, Depew, and Lancaster. At 2 o'clock, we have our Southtown papers, which are the Orchard Park Bee, East Aurora Bee, West Seneca Bee, and Hamburg Sun. Following that, 3 o'clock is the Ampole Eagle. Stay with us. The following program is intended for listeners who are blind, have low vision, or have another print disability, which makes reading, holding a book,